Hey everybody, thank you all for joining us on this Sunday. Happy Sunday. Well, what's left of it. It's a Mindful Monday. So this is the ACG Season 2 Social Mixer Series, and this is episode number 10. Can you believe it? We made it. It's been one of those kind of long summers, but it's been great to be back, a little bit as it is, back out and about a little bit. And I'm thankful for everyone who decided to join us as a guest on the Social Mixer. So all 10 guests on the Social Mixer series, thank you so much. All of those who are watching in the audience, thank you so much. And those who previously watched, I humbly appreciate you. And this can't be done without all of you and all of us connecting and networking to make this happen. And to know that this is 2 seasons and hopefully a third season. We'll see what comes down the line, just step by step, as they say. And like I say, this is an affiliation with Tokyo Bronx. And my guest is ready, so I'm gonna put him on shortly. So, a full affiliation with Tokyo Bronx, and they sponsored this season 2, so I do thank them as well. And speaking of Tokyo Bronx, yesterday I just posted the first interview from The Chat, which is an affiliated interview series with Tokyo Bronx, being partnered with Sean Hill. He's co-hosting those events at the Boogie Down Grind Cafe in Hunts Point in the Bronx. So if you haven't checked those out, please check out the first episode I posted yesterday on The Chat, DA Chat, to check those out. So I'm going to bring in my guest. So with my guest, we'll be talking a little bit about the history of graffiti art, speaking about graffiti art, and talking about his clothing line, True Skool Wear, and also an upcoming event that he has going on this Saturday, the 14th. So I'm going to bring him in, and we can talk a little bit more about that. Okay. It's loading. Hey, I see you.
Peace, peace, peace. How you doing, Rosa? How we doing?
What's up? It's been too long. How are you?
Good, good. Hold on a second. You just put a little bit of the lighting in here because it's a little dark
Sure, no
here.
problem.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Okay.
Great. So I want to formally introduce you to everyone who's watching now or who's going to watch later on Instagram TV. So this is a pleasure to introduce Noel Arroyo. He's the CEO of True Skool Wear and also Art by Arroyo. And he's also the contemporary artist and activist. He was also born in Ponce, Puerto Rico, and he was raised in Spanish Harlem. If you know Spanish Harlem, you know 108th Street between 1st and 2nd Avenue. So, Noel, it's a pleasure. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, pleasure to be here, Rosa, in this interview. I'm very grateful for you to bring me on the show. And definitely, I'm very, very excited to be here and have a lot of planned things going on for the next couple of months, especially this week. It's one of my biggest debut shows that I put together. So, well, let me just start by,
Tell us a little bit about
saying a
yourself.
little bit about myself.
Yes.
Like you said earlier, definitely I was born in Ponce, Puerto Rico. I was born out there, and I think I came to the United States when I was about 2 years old. So, my parents got divorced, and at 2 years old, I came over here with my father. I started living with my father in New York on 108th Street between 1st and 2nd. That's where I grew up. That's my hood. That's
Yep.
what I represent since the 80s. Currently living in the Bronx, so I'm definitely representing the Bronx right now. But my original hood was definitely Spanish Harlem, 108 between 1st and 2nd in Franklin Square. I think when I was about 11 years old, I went back to Puerto Rico. For some reason, I just didn't want to be here anymore. I just wanted a change, and I wanted to stay with my aunt. Was having some issues with my father, and I stood over there for a couple more years. I went to middle school over there in Bayamon, Puerto Rico, and I stood over there for about a few years. It was a couple years. got into some altercations with the kids out there in the middle school. Um, here's this kid coming from New York talking English, and a lot of the kids over there, they weren't trying to have it. It's like, everybody's talking Spanish, and I'm over there talking Spanish and English because I've always been bilingual all my life. I've always knew both of the languages. So, um, I eventually had to come back since I was getting beat up by the kids and everything, getting jumped and everything. Of course, they never fight one-on-one. They always want to fight in groups. But I had to come back. I said, I had enough of all the drama over there with these kids, just because I was talking English. So I came back to New York, and then my father moved to Connecticut. Our apartment got burned down and everything, unfortunately, and we survived. But then I just started just moving around from state to state. My father was like a little gypsy running around. So I lived in LA back in the 90s. I lived for 1 year in LA, and then I moved to Chicago, and I came back to the East Coast. So I've been around the country.
All this before you were 21?
All this before I was 21. Yeah. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Before I turned 28. Because I think the last state that I was living in before coming back home was Chicago. So that was back in 03. So I've been back from Chicago since 2003, and I just came back home. This is where I wanted to be, from day one. This is basically where it all started. This is, the foundation and everything.
It's like they say, it's the alchemist journey, you come back where you belong.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, let me take that back. Actually, the foundation was Puerto Rico, because that's where I lived. That's where I was born, actually. So that's the motherland for me. That's where the foundation started, because I was born there. And Puerto Rico is always in my heart, and that I will never forget about Puerto Rico, because it's
So have
always
you
in my
been there in
heart.
the past, decade or so, like since you last was there?
It's funny because I haven't been there in a while, and I have to go back. It's been about 6 years, 6, 7 years. It's been a minute, It's just
Right.
where everything going on with this whole COVID
Yeah.
stuff, and I haven't been traveling like that. I did take a
Right.
ride
Yeah.
to Florida. I drove to Florida actually a couple months ago. That was a journey. We'll never do it
Oh,
again, though. It's a 17-hour ride. We'll
yeah,
never do it again.
definitely.
But it was an experience. I wanted to do it for the first time, just to check out the scenery. And I did it, but I won't do it again. I'll definitely fly this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, my next move will have to be going back to Puerto Rico, and going back to the island, and seeing my family over there. I still got family over there and everything.
Yeah, for
But
sure. It looks like you have a lot of connections
oh
all
yeah,
across.
definitely, man. I've been,
Hmm
since my younger days. I've lived, like I said, I've lived in LA. I lived in Chicago. I've experienced a little bit of everything. I lived in the worst hoods in this country, man. I've seen a lot too, and I'm just blessed that I'm alive, and I'm healthy,
Yeah,
and good to be here. Very grateful to be here, breathing,
that's it.
and moving on
Right.
with my life. So it's been a journey. It's definitely been a journey. These 45 years being on this planet. So
Right. A lot of stories to tell. So you mentioned
definitely.
about, being in you mentioned yourself as like a graffiti artist, which you call yourself. So tell us more
Yes.
about how did that journey start,
So
and
the
even like
journey.
as going across different states and countries, how has it been?
Well, as far as the whole graffiti aspect, I started that back in '89 or '90, around that
Mm-hmm.
time. I really didn't get to really do any graffiti on the subways because that era
Uh,
was already like fading out. The MTA
right.
already
Hmm.
took over that whole graffiti culture on the subway. So I didn't really get to do anything on the subways
Hmm.
at that time because it actually was fading out, and I just never really started to go that
But you grew
far.
up in that time when it was
Oh yeah, yeah,
happening.
definitely. I grew up in a
You know.
time where it was happening. But I actually started in the streets,
Hmm.
and then I started doing like freights. I think the freights. A lot of my friends, they used to like the freights, and they used to do it, on the freights, because it
Hmm.
was less of getting caught, less because it was all vandalism. So we
Hmm.
needed a place to do it, so we wanted to do it on the freights. It was the freight, so
Yeah.
I definitely got to hit the freights,
Hmm.
and do some dope work on it. But I started around 80, 89, 90. Gradually, I started working my way up from there, and I I I I did graffiti in California. I remember back in '90, I think it was '92. I was in LA, and I was
Hmm.
doing some graffiti down there. And I
Hmm.
remember all the graffiti artists. They were just like all the writers, should we say? Because they used to be called writers. They were writers.
Hmm.
So and the graffiti culture were called writers. So the
Hmm.
writers they used to tell me, oh, you got this old school tag style. I'm like, yeah, I'm bringing that from New York, the old school tag, and then gradually I started just, you know, um, working my way up to the style and everything of it, of the
Hmm.
tags and stuff, and it took me about over 25 years to really get where I wanted to be at, Um,
Hmm.
and then back in 2014, um, I I started True School Wear.
Hmm.
Um, I put my clothing line brand together, and I wanted to call it True School Wear because um, since it wasn't about the new school, it wasn't about the old school. I wanted to be about the true school. So the real school, which is the old school and the new school. It's true school.
Yep.
So that's how I
Hmm.
got true school. I
Nice.
wasn't gonna call it old school wear. I wasn't gonna call it new school wear. So I said,
Hmm.
let me just call it true school for something that's real in the culture.
Yeah.
True means real, being real. So this is
Hmm.
a real culture, a real school culture. So I
Hmm.
decided to call it True School Wear. And,
Hmm.
and I started back in 2014, and there was a lot of clothing lines out there that
Hmm.
influenced me. P&B Nation started fading away gradually. There was another clothing line called E-Nice. There was one graffiti
Hmm.
clothing line from the 90s actually that I remember that was really, really dope. It was called Tribal Wear, and they were from
All
California
right.
actually.
Hmm.
And Tribal Wear, man, I was rocking their stuff in the 90s, and I was like, yo, their stuff is pretty dope, man. Really nice.
Hmm.
And so all these clothing lines from the 90s influenced me,
Hmm.
and with the graffiti and everything, I just put it together. um Eventually I started in the low end where it was completely underground, and it's still underground. I mean, I'm I'm not gonna go any further deep into being corporate because I really, I really right now don't want to sell, like some people say they don't want to sell they soul to the devil. So
Snaps to that.
yes, yeah,
I
yeah.
was just talking about that
So
too.
I'm
So
keeping
what?
it independent. I'm keeping it raw, funky, independent,
That's it. Yeah,
and
definitely the
so
vibe of like the graffiti. You said the
right,
writers, the graffiti. Their lifestyle.
yes,
It's sort
definitely,
of like very. nomadic lifestyle, but it's also
Definitely.
like independent. This is the kind of style they have.
Right,
They go
right.
somewhere else, they pick up something there, they mix and mend it with their style, and then they go somewhere else.
Oh
So
yeah.
speaking on that, did you pick up a few, styles and things from Cali, Chicago, like that you
Yeah,
use today?
it's funny because when I lived in Cali, I started coming when I moved from Cali and I came back to the East Coast. I started picking up some of the graffiti styles from over there, like the writing and the tagging was just different. It was just a weird style that they had. They had their
Mm-hmm.
own style. So when I came over here, they were like, the writers over here were like, what the hell is this? Like this is like
Mm-hmm.
West Coast style you have over here. And then
Ah, right.
eventually, I came back to my East Coast style, because I
Mm-hmm.
went to Cali with the East Coast style and I started adapting to their style over there and
Mm-hmm.
I lost the East Coast style. And then, it just
Mm-hmm.
faded away over there. And then when I came back to the East Coast, I came back with their style.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, adapting back to the East Coast style from where I started, and eventually I left that whole West
Mm-hmm.
Coast style, and then after a while I was just like, what, the East Coast style is much better, it's
Right.
just much better. Even though I give a lot of credit to West Coast, I'm not hating here on the West Coast. I love the West Coast. So anybody out there that's from the West Coast or the Mid Coast or Canada, big
Yeah.
shout out to Seventh Letter, the Bronx. Yeah, definitely Seventh Letter. No, I'm not hating on anybody out there from these regions. It's all love. It's just I came back to the East Coast and I'm sticking to the East Coast.
Sticking to it.
But
That's it.
and that's it. I'll be here in the East Coast, till whenever is the right time for me to move on. And
Right. Yes.
I don't think it'll be anytime soon. But you never know. I can never say for sure. You,
But
you
with
know.
that, you got that East Coast style not only in your
Oh
clothing
yeah, yeah,
line, then you
definitely,
took that
definitely,
graffiti and put it in your clothing line as well.
definitely,
So
definitely, definitely.
you're also doing canvases.
I'm also
So tell
doing
us more
carrots.
about
Yes,
that.
yes. So I juggle myself with the canvas, pop art, graffiti, whatever you want to call it, abstract, contemporary
Mm-hmm.
art. I have different names, modern art, calligraphy, or calligraphy, should I say now?
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's all types of names for my style with the canvases. So
Mm-hmm.
currently, right now, I have some work at a gallery in Midtown. I have a
Mm-hmm.
couple canvases up there on
Nice.
display that I recently put up, which I'm very grateful because that was one of my goals, was to have some
Mm-hmm.
of my work up downtown, and
Nice.
it actually that really manifested to become true, in my life. So I juggle between the clothing line and the arts, canvases, and everything like that. Um, and I'm gonna juggle them, from now till
Mm-hmm.
whenever. It is a lot of work,
Well, that's all those streams. You're having all those different streams of income and all those streams of
Definitely,
creativity going out. And it's always
definitely,
good to have many different multi-talented ways to invest in that and spread it out.
definitely. Sometimes you just have to like just juggle things, out there and see which one is more convenient. Even though I
Mm-hmm.
love both of them, don't get me wrong. Um, I think I think the canvases, the graffiti abstract and the calligraphy on the canvases is more versatile,
Mm-hmm.
and more actually appreciative than the clothing line. Don't get me wrong, the clothing line is dope. I'm always crunching it with the clothing line. It moves. It moves. It's just with with you know, with the clothing line, it's actually more competitive. Put it to you that way. It's more
Mm-hmm.
competitive. Um, it's more work to put in. With my artwork on canvases, uh, I'm not saying that it's easier, but it's more simplified. You know,
God, right.
if I'm gonna put
Mm-hmm.
it, in words, it's more simplified.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit more easy to maneuver. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's still competitive. It's still competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a clothing line or whether is arts on canvas, it's still competitive. I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
lie to you. So whoever's listening out there, it's still competitive. Whether you have a clothing line or whether you're doing arts on canvases, they're both competitive. But I seem to have a really really um, good time with doing my artwork on canvases. The clothing line, like I said, will always be there. True school wear is
Mm-hmm.
not going nowhere. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I, I I've been studying more on how to really manage it,
Mm-hmm.
and really to put it out there. And it's not as easy as a lot of people think it is.
Right. You made a good
Um,
point. Like just the idea of like,
right,
a lot of creatives like us, we have the idea and the
right,
vision and we go out there and we do the footwork. But sometimes it's like we need to take a step back and like do our own research or go to a mentor or someone that knows the business aspect of it. How could
exactly,
we make money out of our own creativity?
exactly. I think that with the clothing line, if I had a chance, I would. Um, if you was to tell me how far would I go with the clothing line, it would just to be a shop, to get a shop, my own true school wear
Right.
shop. Do
You
it,
sort of still like that
you know.
independent, almost underground
Yeah,
value of it.
yeah, even though you're not really being recognized like that, like huge, but your stuff is just dope, and people know it when they see it. When they see it, they're like, oh wow, my only source of getting this stuff is right straight through the source, and you're gonna get it straight to me.
I think for you, it's about not only independence, but also
Right,
authenticity. You like that transparency between
right,
yourself and the
right.
people who buy it. It's everyone's telling a story, and you're
Yeah,
telling a story
everybody's telling a
through your
story.
company.
I mean, I've had my stuff in a couple of boutiques. Like I've
Uh-huh.
had it in a couple of independent stores. Like I had some of my stuff down in Canal Street at the Scrapyard, which is a
Mm-hmm.
graffiti hub. There,
Yeah.
where they have spray cans and all kinds of graffiti
Mm-hmm.
materials. They even got artwork.
Uh,
So I've had my stuff there, displayed. They're great. They're great. They're independently owned. They're not owned by a
mm-hmm.
corporation. And yeah, I tested my waters and I put my stuff in there to see how it rolls. And it was actually pretty good. It was very successful. The line has sold, tremendously, and it was a big success and everything. But you when you're really selling at a wholesale price to these, businesses, you're really not gaining much, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably making like $3 or $4 profit base,
Mm-hmm.
which, in a business, you're supposed to be making double, like
Mm-hmm.
if you bought something for 10, you have to sell it for $20, in order
Right.
to make that $10 profit. And the
Mm-hmm.
$10, you get back from whatever you invested in. So it's always double, everything. But I wasn't really, making ends meet in these shops because they want everything at a wholesale price. And
Mm-hmm. That's where you were
yeah, I
talking
could
about
sell it
like
at a
doing your
wholesale
research.
price.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying. That I could really sell my stuff at a wholesale price. But it's just I'm not, I'm not gonna be really making much the way I'm supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
and the artist is always deserves the credit. That's why I don't have too many galleries that I have my stuff in, because there's a simple reason that they have a 50/50 consignment, and it's just like
Mm.
that's a big hit,
Right.
having
Mm-hmm.
your artwork out there, and half of the profit goes into the galleries and stuff like that. So I really
Mm.
don't really have my stuff in a lot of galleries. Like I have one that I'm showing, but that's because it's a really, it's a really, should I say, it's just a really
Kind of established, well-known
well
location in a
known,
way.
well
Yeah.
established. It's high profile. That's the word I'm looking. It's very high profile, and they have galleries. That owner has galleries all over the world. This last like I think 3 weeks right now, I just been crunching it, just promoting my show, The Seven Elements, which I got the flyer
Oh
right here,
yeah.
so I could
That's what
show
I wanna.
the whole
Yes, definitely
audience
want to
right
talk
here.
about that.
You
So
know,
we talked about you having an upcoming gallery. So tell us a little more. Because I've been seeing the flyer on about for the
yeah,
past couple of months. What's going on with that?
yeah. So this is my one of my
Show the flyer again.
yeah. Let me show the audience the flyer over here. There you go.
There
This
you
is the
go.
paper trail. I know you guys been seeing the digital flyer
Yeah.
for the last 2 months because we
Mm-hmm.
planned it already for 2 months. But this is
Right.
the paper flyer. See, this is the old school version, from back in the days where everybody used to
Doing the
hand out
footwork.
flyers. Yeah, I'm doing the full work. I mean, I'm going all out with this show, and that's why I definitely made the flyers because
Yeah.
this is true school right here, and you hardly see anybody handing out flyers these days for any events. So I say, you guys, everybody, everything is just all digital. So,
It's good to
so
have both, you know?
it's
Like you
good to
said,
have
like,
both,
hmm
but a lot of people are just only focusing on digital,
yeah.
digital. Everything is digital, digital, and they
You
promote
still need to
social
reach out
media,
to those
but
others that are not
yeah,
on there.
but
Yeah.
but there's some that they want to see the actual flyer. So I say, you know what?
Yeah.
Let me make 1,000 of these flyers, man. Which is,
hmm
it, I mean, this flyer came out so awesome because this is like really good paper. As you can see, it's really
Yeah.
good cardboard right here, and it's that if you see a little bit of the glossiness, you see that
Yeah.
glossiness there. So this is a really dope flyer, and the backside has the same. So you're not getting nothing in the back. So it's double coated, boom in your face,
Nice.
raw right here, funky, true school weird. This is the debut right here. Presents seven elements.
hmm
Now the story behind the Seven Elements show, okay, which is a collaborative exhibition graffiti art show, okay, from all the graffiti old school artists, including me. I'm in
Nice.
there. So we have Souls, which is my partner. He's part of the curator too. Just that's me.
Nice.
It's three curators. It's me, Souls, and we have this other young woman. Her name is Tahisha Fredericks. She's a photographer, and
hmm
she is definitely working with us to put this all together. So me, Souls,
hmm
and Tahisha, we put this
hmm
show together, and we set it up about 2 months ago. And
hmm
we just want to bring the whole old school cultural uh, the whole hip hop graffiti culture to come back. And so,
Nice.
we put everybody's tag on the bottom. You can see
Yeah. That's what I like.
everybody's tag is on the bottom, which is their signature,
That's
over
nice. Yeah.
here. And we got DJ Marlon B. Marlon B. Big shout out to Marlon B. He is a fantastic down to earth DJ. He plays all the old school beats, and he will
Mm.
be there playing a lot of the old school break beats and funky disco beats and some dance
hmm
music. It's gonna be one hell of a show. So we got Marlon B
Nice.
there, and it's gonna be at 17 Frost Street, which is in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. All right, it's not too far from Manhattan. If you're
hmm
if you take the train, it's probably like about 3 stops from 14th Street, Union Square downtown, which is not that
hmm
far. So, guys, it's not deep in Brooklyn. Don't worry, you're not going deep in Brooklyn. It's probably like less than 10 minutes away from Manhattan on the train.
hmm
So it will be at 17th Frost Street in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. The show opens at 5 o'clock and it runs all the way to 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And we will be there all day. Which this is a definitely a great pop up. All right, and this is what it
Yes.
is. It's a pop up. This is a 1 day show. You can't miss it. It's 1 day. After this, God knows how long we'll have the next one. Hopefully,
Right.
we're trying to do a hip hop graffiti Hall of Fame in the Bronx, the Bronx Hip
Ah.
Hop Graffiti
Mm-hmm.
Hall of Fame, which is in the works.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a little insight of what's gonna happen down the
Right. A lot
road
of good
after
things
this.
coming.
So a
Yeah.
lot of things are
Mm-hmm.
coming. You heard it here first. And nobody
That's
knows. You heard
right.
it here first, right here on
Yep.
ACG. You heard it here first. Our next project might be the Bronx Hip Hop Graffiti Hall of Fame. How do you
That's
like
gonna be
that?
dope.
We bringing the Bronx back up in here, because this is the mecca of hip hop. This is the mecca of where everything started,
Right, for sure. We talked about the
and
history of graffiti and hip hop, and why not bring it back uptown, you know?
we have to bring it back, guys. We got to bring back
Mm-hmm.
the culture. We've been really hit hard for the last almost 2 years here, with all
Mm-hmm.
this COVID madness and
Mm-hmm.
all this changes that have been happening. Like last year with the riots and
Mm-hmm.
looting, and I mean we've gone through so much. The lockdowns,
Mm-hmm.
which was a wake up call for everybody. It definitely
Mm-hmm.
was a wake up call for me because during that lockdown, I reflected a lot upon myself. I started
Good,
saying
good.
that a lot of things are changing in this world, and it's a wake up call for us. We
Definitely.
have to
Yeah.
definitely keep doing positive things, and just stay away from the negativity. I'm also a humanitarian as well. If you want to call me an
All
activist,
right.
that's cool, but I prefer a humanitarian.
All
Um,
right. So what are some
so
humanitarian things would you say you've done? Like even if this is
yeah,
collaborating with
yeah.
graffiti and your art as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, man. Like I'm very also like spiritual based different things,
Mm-hmm.
and I study a lot of metaphysics and
Mm-hmm.
quantum physics, which is really deep stuff. I
Right.
have a
Yeah.
lot of books on quantum physics, and as well as my graffiti books. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have one here. Let's say this is a nice book here, Graffiti Skool. I have some
Mm.
books here from the graffiti era, Graffiti Skool. Um, I have the Aldea Samo book here. All right,
Mm-hmm.
which goes back to the 70s. I mean, you
Oh.
name it. I have
Mm-hmm. Well,
all
like you
types
said,
of
you're
graffiti
doing your
books. I
research.
do my research, and like I say, I'm a humanitarian, so I study a lot of things that has to do with quantum physics
Mm-hmm.
and metaphysics, which is very very deep stuff to really study. Not a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
will relate to the stuff that I say or study. But
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole different other story. But
But I
yeah,
think all that comes, you learning about your inner
oh
self
yeah,
and universally, and then that goes into your
absolutely,
art. I think
so
consciously there is that call for like people to go, like you said, back to basics and the
oh
root
yeah,
of,
oh yeah,
even
definitely,
figuratively of literally the root of things. So it makes me
yeah,
think about
absolutely.
this guy I was following in Puerto Rico, and he used to live here in Spanish Harlem in the city and stuff, and he moved out there to Puerto Rico, and he's growing like his own like garden, his
Oh,
own
that's
like
beautiful.
everything, just going back to basics of the earth, like we should grow our own,
He's
raise our
living off
own.
the grid. That's living off the grid.
That's it.
We're living
Yeah,
off the
and
grid. That's actually what one day I would like to happen to me. To live
hmm
off the grid. It's not an easy thing, but it is
right,
possible,
yes.
and people are doing it. So it's not
hmm
like it's impossible. It is
hmm
possible, and anything is possible in this world. I mean, whatever you want in this world, you could have. You just got to put your hard work into it. You have to really manifest into
Yes.
what you really want. And and pray that that manifestation happens in that positivity, because whatever you put out there, you get back. You know, I
It's
believe
the mindset
it's the
too. Yeah.
mindset. You know, I believe in the whole thing with the law of attraction. Whatever you put out, you get back. So if you put out positive things in life, the good things will come back to you. If you put out negative things will come back to you. And that's just quantum physics. That's it's just the polarity of life. It's what, you know, yin and yang, whatever you want to call
Say
it.
all those things like the energy, like masculine, feminine, or like like a pull out different
Right,
dualities.
right.
Is that shown? Do you feel like you could put that in your art? Have you put that in your art or
Absolutely,
your?
absolutely. A lot. I have one painting that's called Ether, and Ether Ether is actually stands for it's a higher force. It stands for a higher force. It's a you're going into like an oblivion of a higher source. So and it deals with spirituality. Once you start knowing the ether, a lot of people call it like the Buddhism, they call it nirvana. I don't know if you heard of nirvana, but
Yeah.
nirvana is where you're in a state of conscious mind where nothing in this world is bothering you. Like you're just in a bliss that like Dr. Lipton say, we are here to create things. We are creators, you know. Yeah, for I'm not trying to be religious, nothing, but whatever you believe in, you know,
Right.
whether you have a god or goddesses or gods or energy, or even if you're an
Right.
atheist, you know, it's cool. But for me, like, I believe that there's an energy force that evolves, you know, this universe, and whatever that force gives me, I go and procreate and put out there. Like, I procreate my artwork out there. I procreate my graffiti, you know, my clothing line. I procreated it. We are all procreators of everything. You know, whatever you procreate out there, basically, you know, you're actually a creator of whatever you
I wanted to
procreate.
ask you, so what else is going on besides the show coming this Saturday in Brooklyn? What else you got
Just
going on?
as far as events, like I said, my pop-up art event is this Saturday. I will be doing also, I will be at the Yonkers River Fest festival next month, September 18. I will be at
Okay.
Yonkers, so I will have my own booth out there. They will be closing down the whole downtown Yonkers, and I will have some of my work over there on display. So anybody that wants to, you know, come check me out. Also, next month I will be at the Yonkers River Fest. It's gonna be amazing. A lot of vendors there, a lot of stuff for the kids. Um, you know, there's gonna be a lot of artisans and
Nice.
probably Gary might be with me. He was thinking of actually having a table with me so he could put his comic
Okay.
books
Cool.
too on the side.
Nice.
But I'm always willing to share a table with somebody. You know, if they want to bring something small, you know, and if they want to promote some of their work. And done it in the
That's
past.
great.
I did it in the past with another artist at the Graffiti Hall of Fame in Harlem, and back in
Right. Yes.
2019, which was
Yes. I remember you were telling me
amazing,
about that, right?
amazing. That Graffiti Hall of Fame was amazing. It was a 2-day event. It was, I think, August 19th and 20th of 2019, and it was an amazing show. Amazing show. Everything was put together just amazingly, you know. And they had a DJ there. They had live painters there doing the graffiti work. You know, we had vendors, you know, selling their pop artwork, and of course Gary was around, but he didn't have a he didn't have a table back then with me, but he came around to support. As a matter of fact, I think that was the first time I met Gary, was at the Graffiti Hall of Fame back in 2019, and then me and him we started eventually becoming friends and started working together. And then that's when I
Oh,
think I
that's
met
great.
you
Yeah.
at the Boogie Down
Yes.
Grind back in 2019. There
Uh-huh.
was a little like networking,
Yeah, that was my that was my
never,
second social mixer event.
right, the
Yes.
social mixer event, right. And that's where I think I met you over there. And then from there it was history. Everything down the road, I just started doing events with Gary, these little events and stuff. And I started doing more events throughout the boroughs. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey, and I'm still learning how everything works. And I will be still learning how this whole culture works with the the arts and media world, because this is all arts and media. Even the comic
Right.
books and if you're a gamer, that's still parts of arts and media, because if you do games and stuff like that, if you program games,
Mm-hmm.
that's part of arts and media right there. That's just arts and media. If you're a programmer, make games, you have to know some type of knowledge of graphic design, and codes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what basically it is graphic design and codes to
Yeah,
make
for sure.
games and stuff like that. So, I'm glad to be a part of ACG. I'm glad that, there's something like this underground,
Mm-hmm.
which is ridiculously dope, because that's what I just believe in. I believe in definitely the underground culture. Anything that's just underground is the best.
Right.
Even the
Yeah.
hip hop these days that is underground, not what you hear on the radio, on mainstream radio, but what
Yeah.
you hear in the underground hip hop. I think that's where the real hip hop is at, because mainstream has taken over, and it just has watered everything down. Everything,
Right.
the whole culture, it's just watered everything down. All those games, Tron. I mean, those were some dope games. Super Mario Brothers, the first one from the Nintendo 16-bit. I mean, those were like the games that I really grew up on. That was just like funky, raw, dope. Like, I used to be hours. I'm talking about
Yeah,
hours.
definitely those underground spots. Uh-huh.
I mean, when I first had my 16-bit Nintendo back in, I think it was 90, no, 80, 86, 87. That was back in
Yeah,
86,
yeah.
87 when I first had
Uh-huh.
my Nintendo 16-bit, all right? Back in
Right,
86,
yeah.
87. I think it was most closely to 87. It was close to 87. I remember. I was
Mm-hmm.
living in Puerto Rico. I
Yeah.
was about 11. I had almost the whole collection of the whole Nintendo games. I mean, and I remember playing them religiously like if it was a drug. That my aunt used to
Yeah.
come and be like, "Mira, muchacho, no
You
va
don't
a
get
pagar
off.
eso." And she used to actually take the
Yeah.
cord from the Nintendo
Yeah.
box, and she used to rip it out. And she used to rip out the cord. She's like, "Oh no, tú tienes mucho con eso. No, that's eating up your brain." And she used to just take
Yeah.
the cord out. And I used to be like, "No, I gotta save it. Hold on. I'm almost done
Yeah,
with this
yeah.
game." And let me tell you,
Man,
Rosa,
back then it was no saving. That was it.
let me tell you,
Once it's off, it's
you had to
done.
save it. You had to save it, because trust me, you don't want to start from stage one all the way to like
Yeah.
you're close
From
to
the
the
beginning,
end.
right?
And I remember, every stage used to get harder and harder and harder. I remember playing this game. It was one of my favorite games, man. It was called Ninja Gaiden, and I had
Yeah,
part
yes.
one,
Wow,
two,
it's a
and
classic.
three. The classic,
Yeah,
the
those are
original
old.
Ninja Gaiden for the Nintendo
Remember those?
16-bit. I had part one, two, and three, and I passed all of them. I beat all of those.
Whoa,
And let me tell
that's
you,
tough. those
that
those are
game
tough too,
was
back.
they were tough. They were tough, but I knew how to handle the joystick. I knew the
Uh-huh.
moves. I knew everything. I was super fly, super like into it. I mean, I could have gone into
Hmm.
tournaments. That's how good I was, because it was just
Right, they
like
were
I was just
back then,
buying one
yeah.
game after another. I was like, oh, I gotta get part two. I finished part two. Okay, now I gotta get part three of Ninja Gaiden. And it was
Uh-huh.
just like so addictive, so much fun, that those games, they had they had me just tripping and going and just trying to finish that part. Those times where it's like, oh man, and then there was times where I'll be stuck in one stage. I'll be like, how in the world I'm gonna kill this villain, man? This villain is so freaking
Yeah, that's the
hard.
worst.
So then I used to go into these magazines. I used to go to the Super Nintendos and the regular Nintendo magazines, and they used to
Oh
have
yeah,
like
yeah,
these
the
little.
magazines.
They used to
Yeah.
have like these cheat sheets of codes.
Right.
They used to have
Like Nintendo
codes,
Power and stuff.
right? Nintendo Power, and they used to have the codes where you could cheat to get to that stage, And I used to be like, oh man,
Yeah.
maybe. Oh, they used to have. You remember the codes where you used to have all the weapons and you didn't need to get them and earn them throughout the stages.
Right.
It was a code that once you put in that code, you have all the weapons, the armor, the weapons, all the crazy stuff, man. And
Those are the
those
ones
were the
that you're
fun
writing on a piece
days.
of paper.
Exactly. And those times were really, really fun, man. And then later on, with all the social media like MySpace, I think MySpace was like the best social
Yeah.
media because you could have custom made that page and
Yeah, yeah.
it was
Put your
like
own music.
you put your own music, you put your own codes and stuff like it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
Those days are gone.
Yeah, that's
You
like,
won't never see that again.
yeah, for real.
There was just a lot of things from back in the days. It was just so funky, so fun, and
Yeah,
now I
definitely
feel
was.
like everything is just like so watered down. Even the music is watered down. It sounds the same. It's not really original. All that stuff from the arts and media from back then was like the best, man. The best. Even the comic books were the best too. The comic books were much better, man. Like I'm not hating on the new comic book artists or the new games that came out in PS5 and on the
Yeah.
PCs, and I'm not hating on them. I'm not trying to put them down. It's just I just feel like I grew up in the culture of the 80s and
Yeah.
90s. And I feel that that was my culture, that was my era, the 80s and
Right.
90s, and I just feel like I'm just comparing those eras to the eras of the new millenniums, because after
Yeah.
2000, it became a new millennium. New things started to come in, and a lot of things from back then started to fade out. And that's how evolution is. And then now
Yeah.
I think everything is starting to be so digital. And it's cool, they want it more convenient. I'm pretty sure that one day they're not going to have it. Well, I don't know if they started it. I think they started it a while ago. But I think, with the digital games that they're trying to download now, these digital games and, the PS5s and the Xbox and all this stuff. And
Right.
eventually they're not going to
Like
have
no
it
more
anymore.
CDs. Yeah, no
Yeah,
more
eventually. Yeah,
hard,
but
copies or nothing. Yeah.
I honestly, man, I'm going to keep it 100% real with you, Rosa. Digital is cool, but I like the old school where you could feel the disc and put it in there. Just like the
Yeah,
PSPs,
yeah.
they had when they first came out with the PSPs.
Uh-huh.
The
Oh
first
yeah.
PSP was these little cartridges that you could put in, a little disc cartridge. Then
Yeah, the
after
little
that,
case, right?
yeah, and then after that, they did a modified version, and they just
Oh, really?
everything became digital, like the
Mm.
PSP, the
That
second
probably was brought it down. That's
generation.
probably the
That's
downfall of the PS4P.
and that's
Yeah.
where it went down because it wasn't the same. It wasn't the
Mm-hmm.
same, And I used to love those little cartridges, little discs that you used to put
Right.
inside the PSP, and that a lot of people started like tweaking it, modifying, and putting their own stuff in it. Like you could have like downloaded and synced a lot of games to it. There was
Mm-hmm.
ways to tweak it, just like anything else. There was
Yeah,
ways.
true.
Yeah, they call it pirate,
Yeah,
pirate games. They used
yeah, the
to,
pirating.
yeah, they used to pirate like
Yes.
they used to, there was kids selling PSPs for like $200 with like 50 games already programming it. I'm like, oh
Right,
shit,
yeah.
50 games,
Remember
50,
that.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
hey man, I got 50 digital games already programmed. Wow, how did you do that? Well, they modified it. So they used to do
Yeah, I
that.
think
I
somebody
remember doing
recently
all
did
that
that with the
stuff.
PlayStation too. someone that used the PlayStation 2 and they modified it to play like PS2
Yeah,
games on
yeah,
like a
but then
portable.
down the line, I think the systems got uh I don't to me like I still have the PS what is it the PS3. I still got the
Right.
PS3, and then after
Oh yeah,
PS
it's still got good. It said it's got like good 10 years on it left, and so.
yeah, but if you notice PS4 and PS5, you can't play a compact disc. My
Hmm.
PS3, you could play some music on it. See, and it still has
Yeah, I still keep
Blu-ray,
mine.
and
I
it
kept
has a
mine.
CD. I mean,
Hmm.
I love it. I mean, you know, you know, I used to like more of the concerts back then than the ones that I mean. Don't get me wrong, the graphics now are super crazy realistic. You
So
know,
realistic, yeah.
people are now getting into the Oculus with the what
Right,
do you
yes,
call
the
that
VR.
the VR and all that.
Hmm.
I think the other day was the first time I ever tried the VR because I
Oh
know a
yeah,
guy
how?
that
What you
does.
thought?
I know actually a guy that's really good in programming games, and he's making his own game.
Hmm.
And he showed me a preview, and I was like, "Wow, what are you
Wow,
doing
yeah.
here? Being a security supervisor, you should be
Hmm.
like, working with Nintendo or something. Like, yo, what are you doing here? Doing security." And this guy, he showed me a
Right.
preview of a game that he was doing at home, and I was like, "Wow." This game
Hmm.
looks nice. He was like, yeah, and look what it does and everything. You put the VR and you're like in a jetpack and you're in this future
Yeah.
like honestly the game that he has is it's a version and wait until I tell you this because this is gonna blow your mind. You ever seen the movie Blade Runner?
Yes, yeah, of course, yes.
Or the
The old school
futuristic
one, right?
oh
The
yeah, the
old,
old
not the
school one,
new Blade Runner, the old one.
no, the old one. You ever
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
the old that's what the game looks like. And it's like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
game of Blade Runner, and and it had like the DeLorean, the Back to the Future car in it. I'm like, how the hell he did that?
Yeah.
And everything is controlled by the VR.
Yes, it
It's
is.
just
Hmm.
crazy. It's crazy, man. And he has this game. I forgot the name of it, man. Well, even if I know the name, I don't want to put it out there because it's still this game is not copyrighted already. Unless it's
Right, right. Still
copyrighted, then
development.
I'll put the name. Yeah, it's still in development, so I don't want to give any names to it, But I'm pretty sure he has a name to it. And he told me,
Hmm.
but I forgot what it was. But anyways, the game is just like Blade Running, man. It is freaking.
Nice.
It is amazing, amazing. The graphics now on these games are just so realistic that you just feel like you're inside of
Yeah,
it.
they are. Hmm.
Compared to like 20, 30, 40 years ago. Even though the
Right?
game,
Oh,
don't get me
my
wrong,
God, yeah.
I still love my old school games, man. My Super Mario Brothers, I would never stop playing that game. Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, classic
Hmm.
games. But yeah, I gotta give credit to how these games are looking now. They're just so realistic,
Yeah, for sure.
very realistic. uh,
But
You know, so you know,
yeah, but Noel, we're gonna wrap up this interview. But before we do, and everything you talked about has been amazing and eye-opening. And of course, you sharing a little bit about your history and just your love of games,
big
and
shout
also
out
with
to. I'm sorry, big shout out. I want to
yeah,
give a big shout out to Raw Fredericks. Raw, if you're here listening, he and his wife is part of the creator for the Seven Elements show this
nice.
Saturday coming up. 5 days. Do not miss it, guys. This is going to be one
While we have
hell
this,
of a show that you got to go. Well worth it. Okay. It's in Brooklyn, but don't worry. It's not far deep in Brooklyn. So anybody from the Bronx listening, all right, anybody from Westchester, it's not deep into Brooklyn. It's right in the
yes,
borderline of Manhattan. And, if you're in the Bronx, you'll probably get there in 20, 25 minutes. All right. No more than 25 minutes, but you'll get there pretty fast. So
oh
17
yeah, for
Fall
sure.
Street, this Saturday is going down the Seven Elements Graffiti Hip Hop Old School Graffiti Show. You can't miss it. 17 Fall Street this Saturday from 5
I'll
to
definitely
10.
have that in the
We will
comments
have a dope
so
DJ.
they can check it out.
If you're 21 and over, you could drink. If you're not 21 and over, stay away from the liquor. That's it. Come and have a good
So I want
time.
to know, well, where can people follow you, find you when it comes to your true school wear, your artwork, the canvases?
All right. So with my clothing line, True School Wear, you could find me at Instagram, True School Wear, and school, I spell it with a K, not a CH. So that's True, True, School, Skool, not School, Wear, True School Wear. All right, that's you could follow me on my clothing line, True School Wear, at Instagram, and for my canvas, pop art, graffiti, calligraphy work, you could find me also on Instagram, Art by Arroyo. Hashtag art, A-R-T, by B-Y, Arroyo, A-R-R-O-Y-O. And my pages are open. They're not private, so you could come in at any time. I'm always there. Any questions you have, send me a DM. I'll send you a digital flyer if you want to promote it on your page. I'll definitely send you a digital flyer of the event coming up. And don't forget, September 18, I will be in Yonkers, Riverfest, which is going to be amazing. All right? Come through to Yonkers, downtown Yonkers, Riverfest. I'm very honored to be part of that festival over there. It is going to be amazing.
Yes.
Lots of food, lots of vendors, lots of pop art, lots of
definitely check it
stuff.
out.
Come check it out.
I will have those links in the description. But Noel, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you on here as my 10th guest. And this is the end of season 2, actually. Maybe a bonus episode, but thank you for being my last guest on season 2 of the ACG Social Mixer Series. I appreciate it so much for you wrapping up the series.
Thank you so much, Rosa.
All right, you
Everybody
take care.
Have a good night. You have a good night too, Rosa. Take care.
All right, take care.